Welcome to workout number 3 of our 25-day monthly challenge. Today's workout is going to be a mobility exercise. So we've had 2 workouts and then we've got 3 workouts coming up. And so today we're going to focus on just finding some mobility work. The first movement that we're going to do is going to be the squat therapy. If you find that coming to the bottom of a deep squat is pretty challenging, you can either sit down to something like a yoga block or like a small step, or you can put something underneath the heels if the issue is that you're like pretty much on your tippy toes at the bottom. You can roll up like a yoga mat, a towel, or you can put something underneath the heels to make it more comfortable for you in the position. If we maintain that super tippy toe position, it can put a lot of tension within the pelvic floor and within the glutes, and we're trying to find some deeper opening. So in the squat therapy, we'll start with both elbows on the inside of the knee, and you're gonna press straight out, coming back in, pressing out, and then coming back in. And then we're gonna shift to each side. So I'm gonna put my hand on one leg, push it out, come back in, and push it out again, and then switch to the other side. Push it out, come back in, push it back out. We'll do 30 seconds for the knees apart, 30 seconds alternating between the 2 sides. And the last portion of this is gonna be a rotation. So I'm gonna place one hand on the floor, and then I'm gonna open up to one side, feeling this twist in my upper back, and then inhaling to come back. And then I'll alternate to the other side, coming back, and then rotating. So this deep squat position is kind of blocking in that low back so that we're focusing all the rotation in the upper spine. The next movement that we have is gonna be the hip flexor release with side body stretch. So I'm gonna come into a half kneeling position. You can have a wall to your side as well. I'm gonna tuck the butt underneath, push the hips forward, reach overhead, and then lean away from it. And I'm just gonna hold this for 30 seconds, really focusing on keeping that butt tucked, shifting the hips forward, and then reaching overhead. From here, I'm gonna reach back to grab my foot. It may be helpful to put something underneath the knee because it can be a lot on your knee. I'm gonna grab that foot for a quad stretch. Same thing, I'm thinking tuck the butt underneath to push the hips forward. So all of these are gonna be a front hip opener. After that, we're gonna grab a yoga block. I'm gonna come to a tabletop position and we're gonna do uneven pelvic tilt. So we're gonna target it all on one side and then we'll switch to the opposite side. So I'm gonna place my knee on the yoga block. I'm gonna shift my hips towards that side. So what it looks like from the back is I'm here and I'm shifting my hips to the side for this asymmetrical pelvic position. So I'm shifting here and then I'm gonna think round in my back, really feeling more so here in that low back, and then drop the belly to the floor. As you do this, you're gonna find the level of depth that feels best for you. So you may find like a really big arch is pretty straining in the core, and you may find that things kind of cramp if you get too deep. But if you also find something that feels like it's sticky or harder to move through, just pause there and breathe for a little bit more. After we finish the pelvic tilts, we'll switch to the other side, do the hip flexor release, the quad, and the pelvic tilts on that side. So we're gonna do 30 seconds each for 3 rounds. So starting in our deep squat position, and again, you can put something underneath the heels or you can sit down to a yoga block or something to help you be more comfortable in this deep position. So start by pushing the knees apart and then coming back in. So maybe you exhale to come out, inhale to release. And I'm just pushing the 2 knees apart, really feeling the stretch in the center of my pelvis and kind of like 2 groins of my hips. So coming back in and then pushing the palms out, pausing for a second at the expansion and then release. So you should feel this pretty evenly between both hips. Sometimes you may find one hip is a little bit tighter than the other. Switching to just one side at a time, so we'll alternate between the 2 sides. So I'm gonna hook my elbow here, and then I'm gonna push this leg out, and then switch to the other side. So really emphasizing that opening on one side at a time. Moving on to the thoracic rotation, so placing one palm down, putting the hand down, we're gonna open up to one direction, feel that twist in the spine, come down and then switch sides. Coming into that hip flexor stretch, so bringing the knee down, I'm gonna tuck the butt underneath and then push the hips forward, and then reaching up with that same side to find this lengthening in the side body and holding here for the 30 seconds. Big inhale to feel these ribs expand. Exhale to release. Big inhale. Exhale to release. Really focus on keeping that butt tucked as you push the hips forward. Moving into the quad stretch, so grabbing onto the foot, think tuck the butt underneath and then push the hips forward. Really feeling this all on the front side of that thigh and the quad. To make it harder, you can grab it with both feet, and this is gonna be a little bit of a chest opener as well, or you can hold it with the opposite hand. Grabbing onto your yoga block to do the uneven pelvic tilt. So place it underneath that same knee, shift the hips, and then round the back, and then arch in the back. So shifting between the two, seeing where you have a little bit more stickiness. So maybe it's at the top, you feel a little bit more stuck, pause here and breathe. And then shift to the other side. And then switching to the other hip flexor stretch. So bringing that opposite knee down, half kneeling position, tuck the butt underneath, push the hips forward, and then reaching for that side body opener. So big inhale into those side ribs. Exhale to let go. Reaching back for that quad, grabbing it either with the opposite arm, the same arm, or with both if you want more of a chest stretch. Tuck the butt underneath, push those hips forward. Moving to those uneven pelvic tilts, place the knee on that yoga block, shift the hips over, and then arch and round in the back. So pausing at those sticky points where you feel like you have a little bit less movement capability, big breath. Exhale, let go, and then drop the hips down. Coming back to that squat therapy, so we're just gonna do 2 rounds. I lied when I said it was 3. Placing the elbows on the inside of the knee, push the knees out, and then inhale to come back in. So pushing those knees out, inhale back in, feeling that stretch in the groin. And then again, you could sit down to a yoga block, you could put something underneath the heels if you're finding that it's hard for you to find this really deep position. And then doing one side at a time. So hook the elbow. We're going to push the other leg out, come back in, and then switch sides. Really feeling it in that one-sided in the groin in each direction. You may find that one side feels a little bit more stuck than the other. Usually the right side, we have a little bit harder time finding in or external rotation. Coming into that half kneeling hip flexor stretch, knees down, tuck the butt underneath, push those hips forward, and then reach over. So big inhale into these ribs. Exhale, release. Reaching back to grab your quad. Again, one arm, both arms, opposite arm. Tuck the butt underneath and push those hips forward. So really feeling it all on the front side of this leg. Coming on to that half kneeling or the all fours pelvic tilts. So round and arch in the back. Pausing at points that have a little bit more stickiness and take a full round of breath. So big inhale, exhale, let go. Drop the belly, big inhale, exhale, let go. As you round in the back, think push the chest away from the floor. Drop the belly down. And switching to the other side for that half kneeling hip flexor stretch, tuck the butt underneath, pushing those hips forward, and then reach over for that side body opener. Big inhale into those side ribs, feel them separate from one another. Exhale, let go. Keeping that butt tucked as you push the hips forward just a little bit more with every exhalation. If you're having any like round ligament pain, you can even massage the round ligament in this half kneeling hip flexor position. Reaching back to grab onto that quad for that quad stretch. So tuck the butt underneath, push the hips forward. You can lean down onto a yoga block to add a little bit of support as well. Coming to our all fours pelvic tilt, so placing the knee underneath the yoga block, shift the hips over and then begin to round in the back and then arch, pausing at each end point to take a full cycle of breath. So big inhale, exhale, push further. Inhale to drop the belly, exhale, sink a little bit deeper. Inhale to round, feel the ribs expand, exhale deeper, and drop the belly. And because we forgot the thoracic rotations, coming back to our deep squat position, placing the palm down on the floor and open up to rotate. Bring the other hand down, open up to rotate. If you're finding that the squat position is really uncomfortable, you can come and hold on to like your door frame and open up as well. So this can be another option if putting your hand on the floor is really uncomfortable for you. And that concludes day 3, our mobility flow. Make sure you like and subscribe so you can see all the workouts for this month's monthly challenge.